Tongpo Yorobun, this is Jesse here with another episode of Chosun Yonghwa Review, where today we are looking at the 2003 film Uri Hyangi, known in English as Our Fragrance. Directed by Jong Jong-par, the same director who directed Oh Youth, this movie represents yet another comedy in North Korea, this time by poking fun at the increasing foreign influence in the country at the time and how ordinary North Koreans attempt to make sense of it. The movie begins with a happy husband and wife, Cha Jin-soo and So Hye-sun, who are attending a Lunar New Year's festival while talking about the national fragrance of the country. The following morning, our protagonist, Pyong-Ho, and his parents and two neighboring children honor their grandfather on New Year's Day. They give him gifts such as money, or in Pyong-Ho's case, a kimchi-based antiseptic that he's been working on. They treat the grandfather to a lavish meal where he tells them he would like to attend a wrestling match that's coming to town, to which they oblige to take him. While watching the wrestling match, the grandfather is interrupted by a woman named Ko Sun-mi. This is the same woman who played the mother in Jong Jong-par's other film, Oh Youth. Sun-mi pesters him about their prior meeting, to which he does not remember, thinking at first that she had asked him to marry her, to which he politely declines, citing that he doesn't wish to remarry after his wife dies. Sun-mi laughs and reminds him that they'd agreed to exchange pictures of their grandkids in an effort to get them to marry. Now suddenly remembering, he gives the woman a picture of his grandson Pyong-Ho and receives a photo of her granddaughter, Saebyol. Both agree that their respective grandchildren would make a perfect match, and the two agree to convince them to marry, and fuck, here we go again. I feel like I've already seen this movie twice before. Come on guys, give me a little something different. Pyong-Ho and his parents are immediately impressed by the picture of Saebyol and agreed to the marriage prospect. Saebyol, on the other hand, whose room is decorated with childlike toys and figurines, refuses to even look at the photo of Pyong-Ho, feeling that she isn't ready for that kind of commitment and that she doesn't want to marry a kimchi man. Sun-mi's daughter, aka Saebyol's mother, tells Sun-mi not to antagonize her and to respect her decision. This blindsides Sun-mi as she was expecting a much different outcome. You know, respecting your granddaughter's decision that she's not mature enough to marry. That, no, let's force her. Upon hearing the news that Saebyol refused to even look at his picture, Pyong-Ho vows he would never forgive her after what she said about kimchi. We then see So Hye-sun, the designer from the prologue, looking for prospective models at the Pyongyang metro. She spots one particular woman who, according to her, has a natural Korean body as well as beauty. It just so happens that this woman so happens to be, guess with me guys, Saebyol! Yeah! Did I mention I already feel like I've seen this movie? Saebyol is initially uninterested in the offer, thinking that she's being scouted for a movie. Hye-sun tells Saebyol that she would be modeling instead and starts stroking her hand up her body and telling her how beautiful her figure is. Maybe I was wrong when I said earlier that there's no LGBT representation in North Korea? I mean, look at this. She tells her that she would model as a bride and that all of Korea would swoon over her looks. Saebyol happily agrees. Back at her office, Hye-sun tells her husband, Cha Jin-soo, who is also a fashion designer, that she has already found her model bride, so now he must find a model groom. And who do you think that's gonna be, everyone? Of course, Jin-soo picks out Pyong-Ho at a restaurant while studying his kimchi. At the studio, Pyong-Ho and Saebyol finally meet in their wedding attire. Pyong-Ho immediately recognizes Sabyul from the picture and is stricken with nervousness and probably a little bit of discomfort. Sabyul, however, is unaware of who he is because she never saw his picture. The two go down the fashion runway and immediately win first place for their unique attire, which I don't see how it's unique, it's just a fucking choson no tuxedo, but hey, and Korean beauty, and are then recorded on TV as they stroll through the park together. All the while, their respective families watch from home. Pyong-Ho's family recognize Sabyul and wonder how she changed her mind after initially rejecting him, while Sabyul's family are smitten with Pyong-Ho but don't know who he is, aside from Ko Sun-mi, who recognizes him from the picture. And yeah, I can already see where this is going. You know, I really don't like unnecessary conflict. Like, seriously, if you're at the point where you need to make the plot unnecessarily and unrealistically difficult just to make the story interesting, then it's time to start over and write a different story. When Pyong-Ho comes home, his grandfather tells him to use the fact that she doesn't know he's the kimchi man to his advantage and invite her over. But Pyong-Ho declines and says that after tomorrow's filming, he'll tell her the truth. The following day after the shooting, Sabyul invites Pyong-Ho over to her house to meet her parents. Despite this, however, Pyong-Ho declines her offer, saying that the man she rejected, him, was actually a close friend of his and that he doesn't like what she said about kimchi. When Sabyul returns home, however, her grandmother Sun-mi tells her that Pyong-Ho is in fact the man in the photograph and promptly shows her, much to the shock of Sabyul, whom promptly tells Jin Soon-hye-sun that she will not be returning to the show for the finals. In a desperate plea for help, they urge Pyong-Ho to talk to her. 그런데 덕마 앞에는 새별이가 죽어도 다시 못 나타나겠다고 하는데 이게 문제가 아니에요? Pyong-Ho relents and goes to Sabyul's house and asks to speak with her. The two privately converse at a park not far from her home, where Pyong-Ho apologizes for chastising her earlier, saying that he understands why she rejected him, as that he's a mere kimchi specialist in a nation with astronomers. Sabyul apologizes for rejecting him so quickly and properly invites him to come to her home. He agrees. The two make amends and agree to continue on with the fashion show together. 내용도 풍만하거니와 형식 또한 새로워 이들 한 쌍의 출연자들은 여러분들 앞에 흥겨운 환성중창도 불러드립니다. At the fashion show, the two once again steal the spotlight, this time with an outstandingly obvious lip-syncing scene. Followed by a sightseeing ferry ride around Pyongyang. After the day's photo shoot, Sabyul asks if Pyong-Ho is still willing to come to her home. Pyong-Ho reaffirms his promise and tells her that his grandfather is eager to meet her as well. Sabyul tells Pyong-Ho to bring his grandfather with him on Sunday, which coincidentally is also his birthday. At home, Sabyul tells her family of Pyong-Ho and his grandfather's impending arrival. They initially planned to welcome him with a humble offering of liquor and beet curd soup. However, after learning that Pyong-Ho's family lived abroad for many years, they decide to throw an extravagant party for their grandfather, complete with foreign foods and borrowed furniture in an effort to impress them, feeling that anything less would make them seem poor and inadequate. And oh my god, is the scene where the grandfather first meets Sabyul's family hilarious and cringe at the same time. Like, when the grandfather first enters the apartment, Sabyul's father smiles and greets him, with a handshake. Okay, for those of you who don't know, greeting an elder, especially the first time with a handshake, is extremely disrespectful. Like, I'm not even joking, my jaw dropped to the floor when I saw that. Oh my god. I mean, even I cringed so hard at this scene because the look on the grandfather's face, like, you could tell is so genuine. It's so perfect and just what I would imagine would happen in an unfortunate scenario like this. Sabiel, who enters the room looking drop-dead fucking beautiful, offers him slippers to walk around in by using the romanized word slipose instead of the traditional Korean word gamsekyeolgwa, which causes some initial confusion. He later says that he doesn't like to wear slippers as he likens it to wearing shoes in the house. The family, now realizing they're totally bombing this whole thing, ushered the two into the living room where they offer the grandfather to sit on their new leather couch. The grandfather, who is accustomed to sitting on the floor, as many Koreans do, like, completely unnaturally, like, completely bounces off the couch and falls to the floor. Like, does he really not know how to sit on a couch? Like, Arundel and Sabiol nervously offers him coffee or cocoa. The grandfather takes the coffee and replies that he likes it but prefers tea. Eventually, after small talk with Sabiol, they're ushered into the dining room where he's shocked by all of the foreign foods. When offered potato salad, he's puzzled by the dressing and remarks that it's tepid. I hate potato salad in real life, so he's like my spirit animal right now. After attempting to try and then promptly refusing spaghetti, he asks if there is any Korean food to eat, to which Sabiel's mother replies that they didn't think to make any as they only wanted to offer foreign foods. In an effort to break the ice, Sabiel's father enthusiastically offers champagne to the grandfather for his birthday, promptly spraying him with bubbles as it opens. He's forced to down an entire glass of champagne before a little girl comes in with another bottle. Our grandfather, now in a drunken Final Cut 2.0 state, feigns a heart attack in order to get out of there. Oh my god, how painful was it to watch this. Like, this is pure, undistilled cringe. Later on at home, the grandfather later explains that he feigned his heart attack in order to teach them not to throw a birthday party like that again, saying that if one family in Korea starts to adopt foreign customs, then it'll soon spread throughout the entire country and we will lose our way of life. Because yeah, that's totally not fucking delusional at all. He later criticized Pyong-Ho for liking a girl from such a family as Saebyo's, saying that they dressed her up like a foreign woman and used romanized words instead of their traditional Korean words. Never mind the fact that he's wearing Western clothing, including jeans. Bigot! At the Korean wrestling match, the grandfather tells Sunmi politely that he doesn't think that their two families would match very well, while Pyong-Ho says that he will no longer attend the final fashion show with Saebyul, telling her that she and her family have lost sight of their Korean heritage and customs, and urges her to restore them. Jin-soo and Hye-sun make their way to Pyong-Ho's house where they talk with his grandfather to talk about what's been going on. His grandfather explains the situation and reiterates his worries about the coming generations embracing globalization and foreign things, fearing that it will strip them of their Korean identity and make them slaves again like under the Japanese. He apologizes for his grandson's abrupt departure and vows to have him continue with the fashion show. At work, Saebyul sees Pyong-Ho educate foreign tourists on the superiority of the Korean people and how it's important not to mingle with other races and maintain a pure bloodline. God, this sounds familiar. Where have I heard this before? Saebyul realizes how wrong she was for daring to like something not explicitly Korean. Also, the fact that all of the Korean men in this movie are wearing European tuxedos is ironic, to say the least. At home, her family agrees that they were wrong for being so foreign, and they go to Pyong-Ho's house in formal attire to apologize to them, which they graciously accept. Sabiel and Pyong-Ho attend the final round of the fashion show and win first place. And the movie ends with everyone in Korean attire, except for the men, of course, because reasons and stuff, at a Korean castle, with Pyong-Ho and Sabiel presumably marrying soon after. So this movie was an emotional roller coaster for me for sure. For the first third of the movie, I thought it was just going to be yet another shameless rip of his prior film, Oh Youth, as well as the other comedy I watched, The Favorite Young Man. However, the meeting between Pyong-Ho, his grandfather, with Sabiel's family, I thought brought in a unique insight in regards to how North Korea views outside influence, along with some genuinely funny bits like when Sabiel's father shook Pyong-Ho's grandfather's hand. Literally, I was like, oh fuck. I thought the whole scene was really unique and a definite departure from the traditional North Korean cinema that director Jung Jung-park seems to be known for. However, the final part of the film delves into what can only be described as a racist and, dare I say, fascist tirade against preserving the purity of the Korean bloodline, whatever the that's supposed to mean, and abstaining from all things foreign. And that's where I start to become deeply put off by this film. Where I think this film goes off the rails is how it attempts to deride diversity under the guise of, if we don't embrace our own heritage, we will lose it. This is something that you'll hear a lot among people who are against the idea of diversity and globalization in general, and also among racist fucks like the folks over at the Ku Klux Klan, the Daily Stormer, and, other prominent members of the community here in the United States. You see, there's nothing wrong with diversity, nor is there anything wrong with being interested in or embracing parts of another culture, whether it be food, language, or practices. You can have an interest in or associate with another culture while at the same time still honoring and appreciating your own. Let's take my day today, for example. I woke up this morning at 10 a.m., which is a part of the sexagesimal time system that originated in Babylon. Drank coffee, an Ethiopian drink, ate a Mexican burrito for lunch, attended my class at my local university, which is based off the Prussian model of education, came home to my Korean wife, ate Japanese ramen noodles, and then proceeded to watch a North Korean movie. All while speaking English, an originally Anglo-Saxon language that is now made up of 29% Latin, 29% French, 26% Germanic, 6% Greek, and 10% other. All of that aside, despite having not done a single thing that could be considered American today, I'm still emphatically, unequivocally American. I still celebrate the 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Halloween, you name it. I don't struggle with my identity. I don't consider myself a slave for embracing cultures and cuisines different from my own. All of these different cultures and cuisines are my own. Embracing and accepting foreign influence doesn't diminish who I am, it enriches it. Just because I choose to eat chow mein one day instead of a hamburger or speak Korean with my wife instead of English doesn't make me any less American as someone who does only American things like shoot up schools or pay $1,000 for insulin. Me having sex with and someday eventually having kids with my Korean wife doesn't diminish my pure Aryan bloodline because there's no such thing as a pure bloodline. We are all related. There is no such thing as races. The whole idea of race is based off of 19th century pseudoscience that for some stupid reason still persists into the 21st century despite being long abandoned by the scientific community. There is only one race, and that is the human race. Period. I understand that North Korea and the United States are completely different animals, but that proves my point. North Korea is the direct result of refusing to accept change. North Korea is what happens when you reject globalization, modernity, and multiculturalism, and instead stick to blind nationalism, racism, and xenophobia. Diversity is never a bad thing. When you bring people together, you end up realizing that you have far more in common with your fellow man than what you don't have in common. Diversity, communication, and mutual understanding is what prevents a society from becoming an ultra-nationalistic, xenophobic, and isolated. You know, kind of like you, North Korea. So sorry, Abaji, your argument, as well-intentioned as it may be, is total bullshit. I think the movie as a whole can best be described as an allegory of how North Korea and South Korea handle foreign influence. And I like to believe that they use Sabyul and her family as sort of a personification of South Korea. They use Romanized words like slippa or kosu instead of their traditional Korean words. Their houses look Western, they eat foreign foods, and dress in foreign clothing. All of this is shown, I think, to North Korean audiences in a negative light and is meant to be interpreted as, look at our southern brothers and sisters losing their traditional way of life, while at the same time serving as a warning to North Korean audiences not to make the same mistakes. Never mind the fact that South Korea does a far better job of maintaining its Korean identity than you, North Korea. Not only that, South Korea is making waves around the world spreading Korean culture and influence across the globe. Unlike you, North Korea. That's something you can only dream of or put into your garbage films like this one in a desperate attempt to fool your own population into thinking your country is anything other than a decaying Chinese puppet state. And while the nationalistic guilt-shaming falls flat on its face under basic scrutiny, I will say the movie itself does a good job of making its case through clever humor, which is a rare insight in these kinds of films. It's just that it saddens me to see all of this potential wasted on such a bullshit premise. Although to the movie's credit, Kei-sun does say that Korean women are the most beautiful women in the world. And well, yeah, uh, well, okay, fine, that one's true. I think the movie also shows just how much more nationalistic North Korea became in just 9 years after Jung Jung-par's last film, Oh Youth. A lot has changed since 1994. Kim Il-sung passed away, the arduous march happened, taking the lives of up to 1 million Koreans, most of whom women and children. Kim Jong-il's ascension to power and subsequent doing nothing to help people, and the adoption of the Songun policy, which is referenced many times throughout the film. The film demonstrates the sharp spike in nationalism that is a direct result of the changes made during and after the arduous march, most notably the Songun policy, which gave the military priority over everyone else as far as funding and resources. The Songun policy has often been deemed a mere measure to ensure the stability of the regime during these dark times in the country, and continued to be a standard operating procedure in North Korea well after the arduous march, and even into the Kim Jong-un era, although its influence has seemed to diminish in recent years. Usually when I see a North Korean film I really don't like, I will at least commend the actors for their skills or note the production values, and at least recommend you give it a watch if you're interested. However, I really can't recommend this movie for anything other than academic purposes. Yes, the actors do a good job, and it was great to see the mother from Oh Youth appear in another film, this time with a warm, grandmotherly feeling. Saebyul is absolutely gorgeous, especially in her red outfit when she meets Pyong-Ho's grandfather. However, she's the film's sort of lightning rod and is made to feel awful for daring to like something foreign and is discouraged from wearing anything other than a chosan-ot. Beautiful woman, great actress, sad to see her potential wasted on this poor excuse of a film. Here's to hoping she left that shithole country. Pyong-Ho was a good character too, up until his racist tirade towards the end, which more or less ruins anything good that existed about his character prior. Pretty much the same could be said for everyone else as well. So in conclusion, yeah, I'll recommend this film, for the same reason I'll recommend someone watch The Eternal Jew or Theresienstadt, for academic purposes only, not for entertainment, because there's nothing entertaining about any of this. I would recommend you watch literally any of the other films I've reviewed before this one. This is Jesse from Chosun Yonghwa Review, everyone, and have a great day.